Good morning, Year 3. Great to see you again. Today, I'm going to be teaching you Lesson 5 on comparing unit fractions. Now, I actually want to start today's lesson off by telling you a bit of a fun fact and a fun story. So actually, there once was a restaurant, well-known restaurant, and they made a burger called a quarter pounder. Now, this burger was very, very popular. Lots of people liked it. Great burger. Obviously, it was a quarter pound of the meat. And then there was another restaurant, and they decided they actually would make a similar burger, but theirs would be a third pound of the meat. They put it the same price, same type of meat. The hamburgers were actually exactly the same, well, they were cheeseburgers. But one was a quarter pounder and one was a third pounder. Now, the people in the town didn't want to eat the third pounder burger. Not because it didn't taste nice, not because it cost any different because they were the same price, but they thought that a third pounder actually was less meat than the quarter pounder. And today we're going to see why that's not a valid argument whatsoever. Now here's an example of it. So here you can see I have my third pound of meat, my third pounder, and there you can see the quarter pounder. Now hopefully from my drawing you can already tell why saying that this one, a third pounder, was less meat is not a valid argument whatsoever. So that's why it's very, very important to know your fractions and know how to compare them. So whilst we do that, we're going to quickly review. Here I have my, what is this sign again? Let's try if we can say it together. 1, 2, 3, less than. Less than. So we know when we learned the crocodile song that the crocodile's mouth, it always wants to eat the bigger number. So in this case, if I had the number 12 and I had the number 4, the sign would be facing the 12 because it's a greater number, it has more value. So 4 is less than 12. This is, of course, is equal to or equal to sign, so they have the same value. And then here, the opposite, greater than. So in this case, if I had my 12, I would put it here because the crocodile, he wants to eat the bigger, the greater number. And then my 4 would be on this side. Easy peasy review. Again, a unit fraction. This week we've been looking at lots of unit fractions, and that means that there is only one part has been selected. So 1 is in the numerator and the denominator might be anything, but we want to make sure that we've only selected one part. So 1 is always going to be in the numerator. Now, let's just have a quick look at this confusion about a third and a quarter. Now, I've done it, not with the third and a quarter, but if we think about this, this is my whole paper, yes? Now I've taken the paper, I had 3 papers, the exact same paper. This is the whole of it, I've done nothing to this paper. Here, I folded it in half. Now it would take me 2 of these, if I unfolded it, which I can do, it's the same. I folded it in half. So that would be 1 half. 1 as the numerator, 2 as the denominator. This one, not only have I folded it in half, but then I folded it in half again, and then I folded it in half again. So this would actually be 1/8. Now looking at this, I'll put them all 3 up at the same. You can see one next to the other, that 1/8 is much, much smaller. It has less value than a half and definitely less value than a whole. This is saying that this has been, our whole has been divided 8 times, 1/8. So it's the same thing here. I've taken a circle and we can look at this. I've taken the circle, my whole circle. Now I drew these, so some of them are not exactly perfect. So sorry if you see a few of them that don't look perfect. But this is my whole. Let's pretend I had a pizza. This is my whole pizza. Now I wanted to cut it in half. Cut it in half, easy. My whole has been divided into 2 parts. Cut it into thirds. My whole has been cut or divided into 3 parts, and I selected one out of the 3. A quarter, my whole has been divided into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've selected 1 part. A fifth, my whole has been divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Selected 1 part. Sixth, 1/6, my whole has been divided into 6 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we've still only picked 1, or maybe in this case 1 is left over because we were very hungry. 7, same thing. My whole has been divided into 7 equal parts. 8, 8 equal parts. 9th, 9 equal parts. And 10, 10 equal parts. We could do the same thing if I had my whole and I divide it into 25 different parts. It would be 1 over 25. 1 part has been selected. And I actually have the same thing. So here I have some sweets. I have 20 of them. Now I want to think, would I rather eat, let's say, a third of them? Oh no, let's not do a third. A fourth, a quarter, a fourth, a quarter. I want to eat a quarter of them, or do I want to eat a tenth, 1/10 of them? There's 20. Would I rather have a quarter, or would I rather have a tenth? What do you think? Well, we're going to have a look at that. This is doing the same thing, and this is what you would have seen in your home learning pack. You have a lovely fraction law. So it's always a great idea to look at it. And now we're going to look at our greater than and equal to signs. So if I wanted to do less than or greater than, this is what I would be using. So for example, 1/9 is less than 1/10 or 1/6. 1/6. 1/9 is less than 1/6. Now it's easy to look at our fraction law because we have it here. We can compare it, we can look at it visually. When we look at it, we can see, oh yes, this bar is much smaller. Same thing with the papers. This paper is much smaller than my whole thing. And this is still much smaller than my half there. It gets a bit trickier when we want to look at numbers in comparing. If you just say it like that, a quarter of 20, a tenth of 20, When you can't visually see it, it's important to do some maths with that. So here I have an example. I've actually drawn out, and you can use the grouping method for this. So if I want to find a quarter of 20, what I'm going to do is make 4 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, because we're dividing 20 into 4 equal groups. And then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Stop our division grouping method. And then I'm going to see how many is in each one. And there's 5. You could use your inverse if you know that 4 times 5 is 20. That can also help you. So I know now that a quarter of 20 is only 5. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a quarter of my sweets. So a quarter pounder. Quarter, oh, definitely a third would have been much more meat. Now let's look at it. I wanted to find what would a tenth of my sweets be. So same thing here. I'm going to make how many groups? 10 groups, because I'm dividing 20. I'm dividing my whole into 10. I look at my denominator. So 1 group, 2 group, 3 group, 4 group, 5 group, 6 group, 7 group, 8 group, 9 group, 10 group, grouping method. Now you're going to put 1 in each one until we stop at 20. Keep doing that, and you should find that in each one there is only 2 dots, which we know as well. We can use our inverse. 2 times 10 is equal to 20. Now I've shown you this. Your work today, you're going to do the same thing, and your worksheets look like this. So you have a fraction of an amount, you have a gap, and then you have another one. So the best way I would do this today is your grouping method or your multiplication facts. Remember, you're going to take the whole and you're going to divide it by the denominator. So I want to find a third of 12. So I'm going to make 3 groups because 3 is my numerator or denominator? Denominator. 1, 2, 3. There it is. And now I'm going to put 1 into each group until we stop at which number? 12. So do you want to count with me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have stopped at 12. A great way to make sure you've done it correctly is it should have an equal number in this case. There's 4 in here, there's 4 in here, and there's 4 in here. And that means we look at one group, there's 4, so 1/3 of 12 is equal to 4. Now let's look at this, a quarter of 12. So this time I'm not going to draw 3 circles, I'm not going to draw 12 circles, I'm not going to draw 1 circle, I'm going to always draw my denominator. That's what we're going to group it by. So 4 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. And now I'm going to put 1 in each group until I stop at 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let me check that there's equal. That's 3, that's 3, that's 3, that's 3. 3 times 12, 3 times 4 is equal to 12, so that's good. And each one is 3. So this way, I know this is actually asking me, what is the greater number? Which one has more value, 4 or 3? Now, if I would have asked you that at the beginning and just said, can you put the sign 4 to 3? You definitely, I know, you would have put the crocodile facing the 4. So our greater than sign. 4 is greater than 3. It does get a bit trickier when you look at it in fractions. 1/3 of 12 is greater than 1/4 of 12. Remember that even though the denominator is a smaller number, is less value, it's still the fraction. You need to look at the whole thing. So be very careful when you do that. So have a go at the rest of your exercises today. If you need to use the grouping method, use the grouping method. If you can remember and you say, oh, well, I definitely know, then 1/8, well, an 1/8 is definitely going to be smaller than 1/4. Oh, a 1/7 is going to be much, much smaller, much less than half. Oh, half is going to be greater than 1/9. Half is definitely going to be greater than 1/10. Just remember, this is telling you how many times that whole has been divided into. So if it was 1/150, that means our whole thing has been shared 150 times. So it's going to not be very much. Now the question is, would I rather eat, going back to my sweets, would I rather eat 5 sweets, a quarter of 20, or would I rather eat 2 sweets, which is 1/10 of 20? I think I'll go for the 2. Bye-bye.